Graphing absolute value inequalities aren't much different than the linear inequalities. In problem 4, we want to graph y is less than or equal to the absolute value of x minus 2. So in the first part, I ask you for the vertex and for slopes. The vertex here, since it's x minus 2 inside the absolute values, has an x-coordinate of positive 2. Since we're adding nothing on the outside, the y-coordinate is 0. When it comes to the slope, that's the coefficient that would be out in front of the absolute values, and since we're just multiplying the absolute value by 1, the slopes are going to be plus or minus 1. So, we plot this by identifying the vertex at 2, 0. And since the slopes are plus or minus 1, it's going to open up because this 1 that's out in front is a positive 1. We go up 1 over 1, up 1, back 1. And there's our V that we need. But now we need to identify, should that V be drawn in as a solid line or a dotted line? And we look at the inequality. Since it's less than or equal to, that means that we need to use a solid line when we draw it. And there's our graph. Now we need to determine whether we shade up above the V or down below the V. And that's where part B comes in. I want to know, is 1, negative 2 a solution? And so all we have to do is plug it in. Is negative 2 less than or equal to the absolute value of 1 minus 2? Well, is negative 2 less than or equal to the absolute value of negative 1? Absolute value of negative 1 is positive 1. Is a negative number less than a positive number? Yes, it is. So at negative 2, 1, it is a solution. So we shade on this side of the V, which is all along the outside of it. Let's try a couple more. In problem 5, y is less than negative 2, absolute value of x, plus 3. So now when we're looking at the vertex, since we're not adding in anything inside of the absolute value, the x-coordinate is 0. Adding 3 on the outside gives us a vertex of 3. The slopes, they're going to be plus or minus 2 because of the negative 2 that's out in front. Noticing that that negative 2 is negative, we have to remember that it's going to open down. So plot the vertex at 0, 1, 2, 3. And use our slopes of 2 and negative 2 to go down 2 over 1. Down 2 and back 1. And that's where the V is going to be. Now we have to figure out, should it be a solid line or dotted? Since that inequality is strictly less than and not less than or equal to, that means that the V is going to be drawn in as a dotted line. Last part is to shade. And I want to know, is 0, 0 a solution? So plug in 0, 0. Is 0 less than negative 2 times the absolute value of 0 plus 3? Well, negative 2 times the absolute value of 0 is 0. And is 0 less than 3? Yes, it is. So we're going to shade inside of the V this time. One last inequality. Y is greater than or equal to absolute value of x plus 1 minus 2. So first of all, the vertex is going to be negative 1 and negative 2. Slopes, since there's nothing that's being added outside or being multiplied outside here, that means the slopes are going to be plus or minus 1 because that coefficient is technically 1. So our vertex is at negative 1, negative 2. Since that 1 that's out in front is positive, we're going to go up 1, over 1. It's going to open up 1 and back 1. So we make sure our V opens up. And then we need to determine whether it's a solid line or dotted. Again, look at the inequality. That's greater than or equal to. So I'm going to use a solid line. Oops. The pen, I'm going to use a solid line to draw that V. And now we need to determine which way we shade. So in part B, I ask, is 21, 19 a solution. And we plug it in, and is 19 greater than or equal to absolute value of 21 plus 1 minus 2? Was 19 greater than or equal to absolute value of 22 minus 2? Is 19 greater than or equal to 20? Well, no, it's not. But that's not very helpful for us because it's so far away from where our graph is, I can't tell if 2119 is above the V or below the V. And that's where we can use another trick here. And that goes back to being able to read what this equation says. I'm going to break this into 3 parts. Y. The Y is talking about the Y direction, the up and down. The absolute value part, that's talking about the actual V and where it's positioned. Then right in between we have is greater than. So what I want to know is up or down greater than the V. All right, well, what's greater, up or down? Up is greater than down. So I'm going to pick a point and shade up above it. Anywhere up here will be a solution. And that's where I'm going to shade. Now, like I said, it should be a solution. So you could test another point here. Like if I tested the origin and asked, is 0, 0 a solution? We'll plug that in. Is 0 greater than or equal to absolute value is 0 plus 1 minus 2? Well, absolute value of 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Is 0 greater than negative 1? Yes, it is. And so, yeah, we should have shaded on this side. And there we go.